we got some people coming in. Hi, who's here? Hello, we got some people coming in. It's on the other side. Hi, who's here? Volume down. Hello, look who I have with me today. Do you want to be on this side? This side?
What side do you want to be on?
This side? This side? Let's see. Better? Here. Special guest. Yes.
Right.
Should I turn this up, guys? Hey. Is that better? I feel like I'm so far from you guys. I'm gonna come up.
I come up any closer, my head is gonna eclipse you. Don't source.
Hi guys. Hi Sharon.
I will occasionally be looking down, guys. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see the small print on Maria's phone. But happy to officially join you all. I'm usually in the shadows doing something, watching G, helping out. Man in the comments. But as some of you guys know, we used to do small talks on like a range of topics: finances, marriage, relationships, all kind of stuff, business. So this is like a freestyle small talk with you guys.
Or lying on the floor.
Or lying on the floor, that's right. Freestyle small talk with you guys. So if you guys have questions, thoughts, comments, things you want to discuss.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, and happy Thanksgiving. This is your time.
Oh, look, it even gave me a crown.
Uh-oh.
Do y'all see that? That's so cute. I'm really enjoying these lives, by the way, because then I get to talk to y'all about whatever. So give me a topic, guys. So, he mentioned that we used to do small talks, and we have a couple of them that used to be over here on my main channel, but then we started a channel together and we started like vlogging, and life started happening, and I was like, I can't keep up with both. So we gave up the vlogging, but we felt that this would be a great time for us to reintroduce our small talks. And
Shanna has a hair question.
okay, what's the hair question?
Go ahead. It's maybe Shayna. I'm sorry.
Legrand, what is the hair question, my love?
Kenyatta says happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. How do you manage marriage, raising your son, working, and still having me time? This is a great question. I think a lot of people call this balance. There's no such thing. There are literally times where my husband has a career. Obviously, I have a career. We have a joint business together. We have our children. We have Garrison that lives in the house with us, but we also have two other children that are here mostly over the summer. Madison and Christopher from his previous marriage. So we have 3 children. We have a dog and a fish. And we have life. And the best thing that I can give and best advice that I can say for anyone is to compartmentalize. So it's been times where the hubs has come to me and he has been like, babe, work is going to be hectic these next 2 weeks. I'm just going to clock out. And what that means to me is my expectations aren't high. I'm not expecting him to do the stuff that he would normally do. This is kind of like his little break from the responsibilities. I mean, it doesn't mean that he gets a hall pass. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying that he is allowing me to know before I start to see behavioral changes that, hey, I'm coming up on a hard time. I'm not going to be able to balance it all. I might drop the ball on some things that I normally do in our marriage. So I need you to know, hey, work is about to be crazy the next 2 weeks. I need to focus on that so we can keep a roof over our head. But I'm letting you know so that we're on the same page.
Yeah, and that goes both ways. So I have a corporate job, and I work outside of the home primarily. Maria works inside of the home. But for us, balance is about playing to your strengths. I grew up in a house where my mom was very, very specific around the things that she wanted me to be able to do. So like I can cook, clean, I can do a lot of the chores and things like that. And chores aren't glorious, but in our situation, Maria is on set, so her hands need to look a certain way. So I primarily do most of the dishes and things like that. So in a time frame when I'm busy, I may come to her and the dishes may sit for a little while longer. That's
Or I'll
okay
do
with
them.
her, or she'll do them.
Yeah.
We try to share the load between each other. We don't. Language is really, really important. I will ask for help, and Maria will ask for help, but I'm not helping by taking my son to school. So she does mornings, and I do afternoons. But for me, if I've been out of town, like I'm going to be out of town next week, when I get back in town, I'll try to give her some of the time back that she may have had. So I'll drop him off and pick him up because I'm out for 4 days. So she's going to have to do both of those. So it's very much an intentionality to it, like being very intentional and being very thoughtful of like what can I do in the period of time that I have to balance out. And then the other thing as well is you need to make sure you have your own time. Like I have my own dedicated carved out time for myself. Maria has the same for her. So that way when we're together, we're together. When we're working. Sometimes we're working together, sometimes we're working independently. But you got to have some time for yourself. That's very, very important.
So as far as personal time for each of us, he loves the gym. So regardless of what he has going on in life, he gets up and he goes to the gym before he starts his day. That's the time that Garrison and I are sleeping, or I'm getting him up and ready for school, cooking breakfast, or doing other things like that. That is his dedicated him time. Now, we go to the gym together, and if you see us at the gym together, he typically is coming back to the gym just to come with me because he has his own set dedicated time that he goes, and he doesn't want anybody interrupting that. And that's totally fine. And then for me, because I work from home, I'm able to dedicate days or certain time periods to go do stuff for myself, like get my nails done, get my feet done, go get my lashes done, things like that, where it's about, I take time and it's 100% dedicated to me. It could be as simple as, for lunch today, I'm going to take an extended lunch and I'm going to watch Walking Dead. But we're able to do that because I work from home, so I'm able to utilize some of my workday hours to replenish myself. For him, like we're still involved in a lot in our community. So like if he has something that he has to do and Garrison and I can go, you'll see on our Instagram stories, we'll go and we'll support him because I think it's important for our son to see both of us do stuff. And you'll also see in some upcoming projects, Garrison is on set with me a lot. He actually is working. He's a working paid actor. So
I'm going to give you guys a pro tip because Maria said something about being busy. This is not romantic. This is just life. Use your iPhone. Use your calendar. So
Kristen.
ladies, to your fellas out there, men are very task oriented. I've had friends of mine that have asked me like, how do I get my guy to do chores? Okay. Put it on the calendar. All right. On my calendar today is wash and clean my wife's car. It's on my calendar every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
She hit me about 2 years ago. She just asked me a simple question, but it hurt. She says, why does my car look like, no.
I said, why do I look like I'm single by the car? And if you're from St. Louis, I think you might understand what I mean. Guys can determine if a woman is single, and this might not be a St. Louis thing, that's just where I'm from, and that's where I learned it.
That's some game right there.
Guys can determine a girl's status by her vehicle. And I'm married, but you can't tell that in a car. But if my car is well kept,
and throw pot and soil on the hood now, all right?
if your car is well kept, clean, I mean, they don't need to know it's gassed up, but these are things that guys are able to spy with their little eye before they throw the Mac line. So I asked him in a very backwards way,
Wow.
why does it look like I'm single by the car?
And I stepped into my feelings, and I walked back out. I headed to the gas station, and now what I do with my son is it's part of our chores. It's part of his chore set to go and make sure that mommy's car is clean and vacuumed. We're gonna answer that hair question real quick.
Okay.
Clean and vacuumed and gassed up for the week. These are just the little small things, and Maria does small things for me as well. But these are small things that I've determined for her. I've made up that's another tip for you guys. Make up your mind what you're going to do for your spouse regardless of whether you get something back in return. If you want to do it. Don't get into these implied contracts. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, and we are not a traditional. We are traditional, whereas my husband is the head of the household and I am his helpmeet. okay? But we are not traditional in gender roles. We don't, this house is our house. I'm not the only one that can pick up clothes and make beds and clean, and he's not the only one that can cook and mow the lawn. We don't mow the lawn, either of us, but I probably would never mow the
Well,
lawn.
you know what? I mean, let me go back real quick. Maria's going to answer the hair question, Shane. Real quick on the calendar. Utilize your calendar. So I was talking when I put Maria's car on there. I put things like
Change the air filters.
I put things
Drain.
like I do it in a fresh, like make sure the drain is got fresh. So the dishwasher, the drain, the washing machine all get a fresh once a month. Coco, our dog, she gets her medicines.
Yeah.
Just things that you just don't have to commit to memory, and I also call that active procrastination. Another thing that you guys need to think about is as your economics increase and your income gets better, things like cutting the grass and maybe even having a home cleaner. I never thought in my wildest imagination I'd have somebody clean my house. But when I think about what I could do with that extra hour of time from a rest standpoint or from a business standpoint, we invest that time. It's 3 resources you have: time, talent, and money. You got to think about, how do I maximize my talent within a set amount of time so I can increase my money? All right.
Word. We need a moderator. What did he say? Maximize.
You got to maximize your time. You got to maximize your talent within the amount of time you have, so that your money, your income, your resources, and what you need to figure out is how do you farm out some of this stuff, like cutting the grass. That $25 a week for me in the summertime, that frees me from an hour or 2 hours a week. Having to do something that some people enjoy, I really don't enjoy, but I can be using that for something else.
Yes, talent, time, resources. Because we're able to be smart about it, my job is a lot of thinking. What you guys see on the forefront is a lot of thinking on the back end. And if I have to take that time to clean my house, which can take several hours, I can use that time in a more productive way. Someone asked a hair question.
Yeah, it was Shayna. She asked hair question.
It's about braids.
Saturday. Is the pre-treated hair okay?
I don't know. I just buy the normal braiding hair, and then I treat it myself in apple cider vinegar. I have a video on it when I did the how to box braid video, and I share that information. It takes the alkaline off of the synthetic hair, which is normally what causes people's scalp to itch like crazy, and you see women doing this. So I say pre-soak it before you go. If you're getting pre-treated hair, try it out. If it still itches, you can always come back and use apple cider vinegar rinse. You can do an apple cider vinegar rinse with the braids in, and it'll remove that itch and irritation.
What brand is that? OPI?
Oh, I don't know.
Somebody asked. They said nice nails.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is a good question. I kind of answered this a little bit. It was about how do I support my wife's new endeavors. So, my wife is very much a free spirit, and there's a delicate balance
This is a U-part wig.
There's a delicate balance with that. So Maria is very, very creative, and she has to have room and space for her creativity to flourish. I realized that pretty early on in our marriage. So I use this kind of analogy. It's kind of the open hand. If I did like this to Maria,
Daddy, I want something to eat.
you can eat your dinner. Y'all gonna eat the lesson. This is for my son. The food that you said that you didn't want to eat is in there, and I can get that for you.
You ready to eat it now?
You ready to eat it? Your turkey,
your carrots,
cauliflower,
and your green beans.
Nope, you gotta eat that.
That's your option. That's what we're having for dinner tonight. Would you like some IG soup? Would you like some soup?
I want to give you some food, but you have to eat what you said you didn't.
You want to have some soup?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take all the other things.
That's fine. Come on, we'll go get you some soup. Hold it down.
So back on that. So the open hand analogy is if I did like this with Maria and tried to hold her into a predetermined form of life. She talked about we don't have really traditional gender roles per se, which is kind of do what we need to do to support our family. Then with Maria, she would just kind of break loose. But I've learned that there's a delicate balance, and I try to make sure that she knows that she's grounded in my security and my safety and in my long-term vision for the family, but she has the ability to have free range to explore. Like she's making these turbans right now. That's an aspect of her creative energy. She's always creating something, always doing something, and she needs that space. So every once in a while, I have to rein it back in a little bit and And that's a delicate process on how that kind of happens. But I tend to just let her have as much creative space and freedom as possible and just be present and be around her. And I often find that in giving her that freedom, she actually wants to be closer to me and wants to be grounded. So it's just, everybody's different. That's how we make it work. I don't try to predict or control things, but I always have a plan. I've got a plan for our family to be financially free, to buy land, to pass something down to our generations. And at the end of the day, anything that we do that has major implications on that future vision has to be reconciled against that, whether that's travel, trips, gifts, businesses, other things. If it doesn't in the long term help us accomplish that, the plan dictates how much freedom that we end up having. So, long-winded answer. I feed my mom. Hey, mom, how are you? You feed my grandson. That's hilarious. Everybody say hello to my mom. Mom, he needs to eat the food that we gave him. We're trying to get him. He did a great job at lunch today, but he's got food that he didn't want to eat for dinner, and he's going to have to learn that lesson.
Who's on there? I'm back, guys.
Oh, Donald Trump was in here.
Yeah, I blocked him.
That's good. Mama Loggins is in here talking about feed grandson.
Oh, yeah. Well,
What helps you form this plan? How can we make a plan?
life happened for us.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I would like to really pride our relationship on is our ability to talk candidly. Like, we don't hold back. What has happened over the years, I don't want to say we don't hold back. We have such a high level of respect for each other that when things just aren't right. Okay, I saw a question someone asked, and they said, how do I feel about being married to a man that was married before?
Good question.
And I feel completely and utterly blessed to have him as my husband. I cannot say that for all situations. And here's a catcher. I too was married before. I just did not have children in my previous marriage, but I was married. And in those failed relationships, you learn a lot about yourself as well as what you expect in or need in a relationship. I know it's hard to type. It's like if you hit space, talking about responding to y'all via chat is hard. So we're just going to do it talking. And I'm segueing into something because as where we are in our level of communication is because of these other relationships that have allowed us to see who we are, how we communicate, and the best way to move forward. Because you always got to look back at the end of like something that went south and been like, I could have handled that totally different. So being able to come to him and be like, hey, I really didn't like the way that just went down, whatever the something is, and being able to talk through it and remove feeling. Because a lot of the times feelings get in the way of growth, okay? Because you stuck in your feelings, you're not going to allow yourself to grow. So being able to remove those feelings out of it and be able to say, okay, that stung because my intentions were not to hurt her, but the truth of the matter is it did hurt me, and you can't just eliminate that because it wasn't your intention. So just having open communication and being able to say, I get X amount of time in my feelings, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna work through this. And that's been very, very good for us. And yes, serious maturity is all I can really vouch for. We are 100% committed to our relationship and the way that we communicate, and maturity, just being the 100% committed is maturity, and being able to say, regardless of whatever might irk us or angst us, we ain't got nowhere else we going. So
this is something that has hit me here recently, and part of my growth and development as us. Our lives are much more complex now than they were years ago, and it should be because we worked a plan. And I'm gonna answer the question about the plan, or start it, and Maria will chime in as well. But it's y'all. This is preaching. Now my daddy's a preacher. I can't help myself. Although our lives are more complex, our love can still remain simple. So I've been practicing some mindfulness, some gratefulness, some things, because you can get busy. And there are times, a couple of years ago, I remember telling Maria, I just feel so empty. I just feel like I'm giving more than I'm getting in return.
And this is in life in general.
This is just in
not
life
just in the
This is
relationship.
not just our relationships, it's work, and just a whole bunch of stuff. But in all of that, there are memories, there are thoughts, there are spaces that I'm teaching my son to visit, and I'm visiting on my own, to go back and to think about how simply awesome our love is, and how it can be the same, even though our lives are so much more complex. We've got a business that we didn't have 7 years ago. Maria's doing other things in another business. She's creating things. My career is blossoming, developing. We have Garrison.
And I'm constantly creating things.
Constantly creating
like these
things.
turbans. They'll be on sale for
So
pretty soon.
life may be complex, but figure out a way to make sure that you keep your love simple. Short answer, my brother is doing well. He is married now.
Yes,
So
Jordan
he
is married.
He kind of took the fast forward button on life, so he's doing very, very well. He's got a new job. He works for the Walt Disney Company, and he's doing great. So they asked about plan, like how do we develop a plan? Do you want to start on that?
Okay, so a plan is not just a marriage thing. A plan is something that you can have for yourself as a single, as someone who's dating, as someone who's getting out of a relationship. I think a lot of times we think when a relationship ends, we have to pick up the pieces, but you can have a plan in place to have those pieces kind of fall back a lot quicker, which means you can move forward a lot quicker. So a plan is important in everything that you do. As far as our marriage is concerned, how do we have a plan? Simple things like I have mornings with Garrison when it's the school day. I get him up in the morning. I don't have a set time to be at work. I work for myself. So if I don't get him to school until 9 o'clock, I can work until 6, or I might not work that day at all. It just depends. But because my job is a little bit more flexible when I'm at home, I am the one that deals with morning routines. I can make breakfast. I can get him his vitamins. We can do some lessons in the morning. Sometimes we play. Just different things like that to develop him and get him ready for his school day. His father has a little bit more of a structure and time limit to be at work. So he does his morning routine. That's his me time. He goes to work, and then he's off. He picks Garrison up. At that time, I'm able to continue to work. I don't have to break whatever I'm doing. Sometimes my workflow starts in the afternoons and works until early evening. So that allows me to not have to break that workflow and get a good amount of work done in a set period of time. As far as like our chores and things like that, we have a cleaning company that comes maybe one to two times a month. We have a lawn service that comes as many times as we need them to. And we just try to make sure that the time that we do have, we spend together. Because during the spring, summer months, I'm barely home. And then towards the summer, fall months, he's out of town as much as I am pretty much during the spring and summer. So we could be passing ships, but we don't allow that to just happen.
So here's some others, just to build on Maria. And I have the benefit of thinking how she was talking. So there's components to a plan, guys. This is how I think about it. You need to have a plan for me, for you, okay? So a plan for me was I needed to lose weight. I needed to get my physical body together. As an aspect, when we first got married, I needed to get a new job, education. So you need to have a plan for yourself. And that plan for you is going to look very different than other people. So how do you be the best you that you can be, okay? So there's a plan for me. I also have a plan for you, and my you is Maria. So there are things that I desire for her, not from a dictation standpoint. It may be trips or gifts, and a lot of that is just due to how do I love her in the language that she wants to receive. I remember when we couldn't afford for Maria to get her nails done. I remember when we couldn't afford for Maria to have money carved out for her just to do whatever she wanted to do. Okay, I remember when we could. I remember when I was so proud.
This wasn't that long ago, guys.
Well, not long ago. I remember we were so proud that I could just afford for my wife to get her nails done. It was like a big deal for me, but that was part of the plan that I wanted for her. And she never pressed upon us. She just made do with what we had.
I did it myself.
You need to have a plan for we, okay? All right, and the we for us is at a minimum is me and Maria, but it also includes
our
Garrison,
children.
Includes our children. So do you have life insurance? Do you have school planning? Do you have education planning?
Your
will?
estate set up.
All of that, So you think about it. I have a plan for myself.
I have a plan for myself.
Herself.
We have a
plan
plan
for
together.
our family. So then when you start thinking about that, your goal should be right now to set up a dynastic vision for your family in the future. So I know right now I come out of a family where my mom and dad are both one of 7. Maria's mom comes from a large family as well. And our parents set us up. We stand on their shoulders. They set us up to do a little bit better. My goal for our kids is I want them to be debt-free when they graduate college. I have changed on that. A lot of my white friends when I was at work, and I only use that delineation to let you know about some differences in thinking. they would make sure their kids had their education paid for. I was like, man, I paid for my own school. He can pay for his own. I've changed on that because it is an inheritance, a living inheritance, to be able to give your child a debt-free life. I'd love to be able to give our kids a house. You know, we may move out of this house. I'm keeping this house. I'm gonna figure out a way to keep this house. That's building assets and whatnot. So I could talk a long time on a plan, but
somebody
those are some
asked
aspects.
about how do we deal with finances. So if you're newly married, this is the literal church right now. Thanks. Okay, so if you're newly married, engaged, I really believe that finances should be established when you're engaged. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to constantly change as you guys grow together, but an understanding of where each of you are individually so that you can come together and you can achieve the goals that you guys had set for your whole family. Now, finances was a very tricky one for us. It used to be tears and yelling, and it used to be very hard for us. But once, I think I just sat him down one day and I was just like, this does not have to be.
We set each other down because we lacked a language to be. I was very sensitive. I was coming out of a traditional sense of being able to provide and getting into my feelings of I can't provide for my wife. And we just had two different languages. Once we got the language piece down and how we think, we just think differently, but we're on the same page.
Yeah. So once we sat down and really just ironed out and removed feelings, like I said, feelings are tricky because they can hinder growth. Okay, and that's also feelings will be equivalent to maturity. So being able to say, okay, I'm not good at this. I'm going to lean on you a little bit on this. But it doesn't make him less of anything else, and it doesn't make me less of anything else. It's being able to say, we are in this together. This is what you bring to the table. This is what I bring to the table. This is what's going out of our table. How do we make it work with this little bit left? So early on in our relationship, both of us were coming out of divorces, and we didn't have much. So it is, I will tell you this, more money is not going to be the solution to your problems financially. You know, as Maria talks about, the earlier you can set up a common financial framework, a common financial language. I'm not here to tell you guys that one account is the right way to do it. I've got friends that have it where they have separate accounts, one account. That's up for you to understand. But what I can say is, like, I'm totally transparent. When I came to the table, you know, I checked my credit report on a quarterly or semi-annually basis. Do the same thing with Maria. We talk about that. There are times when we've overspent. We have to talk about that, but we're just very honest with each other about that. And again, it all reconciles against that plan. We have a plan to be, I'm 36. By the time I'm 40, minus our home, her student loans, our credit, business debt, I'm trying to be debt-free, you guys. I want to be debt-free. I want to know what it feels like to live. I have some colleagues and some friends that when they make their money, it's not going to any bill collectors. It's going to savings and immediate living expenses, okay? That is within sight for us and still having a great life and whatnot. So the mechanics of that, you need to have some either software, something to be able to track what you spend, where you spent it, and how you're doing. And we're still working on that, guys. That evolves for us. Okay, I also want to add in there that not me, he's the spreadsheet guy. He actually created a spreadsheet over on MA and the Hubs TV here on YouTube. MA and the Hubs TV. If you sign up for the newsletter link that's in one of those videos, you'll go to the finance, small talk finance, and you'll get the spreadsheet that's already formulated for you to just plug in your numbers. It'll do all the math for you, and it'll give you all of your totals and where you need to be and so you can see. See? That video was helpful. We got a lot of people who signed up for that and got that information for free. Yeah. He sat down on his own time and created a blank financial template off of Excel. So
something is better than nothing, guys. I've had it to where it was on the back of a piece of paper. Yep. Something is better than nothing. And I'll tell you this. I'm really good. I came out of a house with my dad and my mom. They were really, really good at making sure that we had what we needed. I didn't miss meals or anything. So I've learned naturally, and a lot of us black folk, we know how to manage scarcity. We know how to keep the lights on. I know that my student loan bill has a 10-day grace period and that it won't affect my credit report. So if I need to move this around, you need to be honest with you. You need to know all that. You need to know who you can pay. There are going to be times in your life when your cash flow may be disrupted from an emergency or whatever. You need to know these things. Do not stick your head and live in the sand. That's how we've made it through. But I'm telling you what, it is a difference in managing scarcity than managing prosperity. And I'm going to just say that again. It's very much a different set of behaviors in managing scarcity than it is in managing prosperity. That's why you see a lot of these athletes and other people where if they don't have their money managed right, they burn through it just
burn
like this.
through it. You'd be like, how are you bankrupt? You just had a $20 million contract.
It's not that hard.
That's not hard.
It's not hard. So we're learning in our journey on that. We'll continue to share, as we learn in some things that we're doing. Financial advising, planning, other things, property ownership, business ownership, doing these things a smart way to have that dynastic plan.
For instance, our business Royal Prerogative. It's our beauty company where we have 3 wigs curated by me because y'all love my wigs. But we decided to make it a business, a real business. Not to say that what I did before wasn't a real business. I'm not hand making the wigs any longer. But being able to start that and self-fund it, not one loan, not one investor. We self-funded that business from the start. And we're learning. The learning is, I feel like I have to be like, our first year is like, think about a newborn and all that they learn in that first year. I really just feel like we're still in that first year, even though we've been going through this now for almost 2 years. It is such a learning curve. And we aren't pressed because we don't have anybody tapping on our door for money. We don't owe anybody any explanation. We are allowed the grace to figure things out at our pace, and that has been one of the biggest blessings in starting our own business, is being able to say, we were used to living this way, now we have this extra income. Instead of just balling out, let's do something that can possibly bring something back into our family 100 times fold. So
somebody mentioned about love languages, and I mentioned it a little bit, and they just kind of ripped off and said, hey, love language is great. Totally agree with you in that. There's a nuance that I have on the love languages. And so Maria has her own love language. I have my own love language. Okay. And then Gary Small is.
But that's a receive, yes.
Right.
That's
Those are
receiving love language.
So here's the nuance, guys. There's a giving love language that I think people have as well. So like my natural giving love language is acts of service and words of affirmation. Maria's receiving love language doesn't really match at times. Now, the words of affirmation, it matches. But the acts of service, it counts, but there are times when I can be serving, and think I'm doing like everything. And it's just like, boy, will you just come sit down? Like, it's good. These clothes can wait, the dishes can wait. Now, if I came home on a Friday and was like, pack your bags, we leaving, we going out, your girl would be beside herself. Okay, but that's like gifts and travel is really big for her. So as you guys think about that, step outside of yourself. And this is what has transformed my life. As a reformed, nice guy, people pleaser. I am a nice man, but I aspire to be a balanced man. Mm-hmm. Okay? And what that means for me is not only understanding how I make others feel. That's the trap of the people pleaser. You base your life on how you make others feel, and you're always trying to manage and make sure they feel good. So you need to know how others make you feel. And then between the two of those things, how do you make you feel? How do you feel about how you make others feel and how they make you feel? That is balance. The fulcrum of that scale, fulcrum is that little center triangular thing. If you're on a teeter top, mm-hmm. is how you feel about how you make others feel and how they make you feel. If you can be conscious and present in that, game changer. Absolute game changer.
Okay, so mom of 3, there's more to me. Maria, how did you get into the hair industry? I really enjoy watching your previous video, and I thought you mentioned you attended college, and I wanted to know what sparked your interest. Okay, I've always been really good with hair. My mom put me in sewing at a young age. My grandmother taught me how to braid. When I was about 19, 18, my mother got mad at her stylist. She asked me to come do her sew-in, and the rest is history. I might have been 16. I think I was still in high school. It's okay. And I went to school in a predominantly we went to high school together, and we were in a predominantly white environment. And that really didn't have a big play on it, but I think that our peers who were also black and lived in this environment with us, their parents had such a high bar set for them. It really pushed me to do something that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always loved hair, but I didn't necessarily honor that talent. Okay, I didn't honor it. I didn't respect it because my friends were going to Pepperdine and, Washington University and Harvard, and so I went to college because that's what my friends were doing, and I really didn't have much of a backbone as far as my passion in life, what I wanted to do as a career. I just went along with what everybody else did, and thank God for my mother putting me in an environment where everybody else was doing good stuff, because if I had been in the city, I'd probably be a hood rat. That's the truth. So, with that being said, I went to college like everybody else. Out of high school, I went straight to college. In college, I did hair. I would tell people, don't tell people I did your hair, but I would have you laid out. I was doing hair. I was making great money doing hair. And even in college, I think about my sophomore year, I was really thinking about going to cosmetology school.
Mommy,
What you want, man?
How was your suit?
I drank a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And I pulled it out of the sink because there was things inside it.
Negotiating, y'all.
May
Okay.
I please give Coco a treat?
Sure. Come say hi to Nana real quick. Nana's watching this. Come here.
Nana?
Yeah, Nana said eat your food. Say hi, Nana. Look at the screen.
Hi, Nano Pot.
Say hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
YouTube said eat your food, alright? Alright, we'll give Coco a treat.
Go give Coco a treat. Coco, go get a treat.
Back to regular programming.
Okay, so I graduated college. I took a job in Cincinnati at a corporation. Some things happened where I just didn't agree with the policy because they didn't even follow the policy. And I was never meant to probably work for anybody. I put in my 2 weeks and I quit. I came back to St. Louis. I worked for another company. I got laid off. And in that time, I was just like, I'm going to finally go to cosmetology school. This was at 29, 30. I finally got my license and I went to cosmetology school. Now, what I will say is my career trajectory as far as college and working corporate, all of those things set me up to be an amazing stylist. First and foremost, I didn't play with your time, so you're not going to play with my time. Every person had a slot. I knew how long it took me to do a certain treatment or a style. I did exactly, my business was ran so clean. So I was grateful for all of those things. And all of those things have since paid forward. And I'm going to segue into your question, Florida Naturals. Has segued into entrepreneurship. I obviously have always had the entrepreneurial spirit. My mother is, thank you. My mother is an entrepreneur, so I grew up in that environment. It's not scary to me. I've always just had faith and always knew that money was not an issue. Like, even getting married with my husband, he would be like, oh, and now 6 years in, almost 7 years in, he's finally, and not finally, it's been like a couple of years, but what do you say, babe? He just be like, we gonna be all right, because he knows that
Between the two of us, independently, we're going to be all right. We just have a different way of getting there. But what I've learned to do is how to calibrating us for our strengths. Maria she can generate. If I said, Maria, we got to have $2,000 by next Friday, we would legally have $2,000 by next Friday. I'm not reckless with that. I don't pull that card. I've not had to really pull that card, but I know that she can do that. And she knows that from a management standpoint, that I can manage what comes into the house, and we're not going to have lights shut off and stuff like that.
are we frozen?
Mm-mm.
No.
I'm sorry. Let's see here. Did you answer Florida Naturals question?
Yes. Okay. So back to Florida Natural. You asked me how am I able to be an entrepreneur and balance being a mother. Now, when I first had Garrison, I'm not a helicopter mom, but I definitely was a mom who was blessed and in a situation where we didn't have money really to afford a daycare, and I worked for myself from home, so I was blessed to be able to be home with him. That being said, the more he grew, the less I worked during the day. it was wonderful the first, 6 months. He just laid there, cooed, and, slept. And I was able to still do my job of YouTube and, deal with my companies that I worked with and my partnerships and do all of that stuff. The older he got, the least amount of that time I had during the day because he needed to be taught. He needed hands-on. So I would literally work all day. I would literally be with him all the hours he was up. My husband would come home, and this is kind of when the day-night thing kind of started. He would come home from work, and he would literally take Garrison, which would allow me to start my work day, which typically started around 6 p.m., and I would stay up until 3 almost every morning doing my work. And
part of that, guys, is if you have and this is actually both ways, because I actually work with a lot of ladies whose husbands are stay-at-home dads. Whoever stays
that's
at home,
really big here.
It's really big.
It's
Whoever
really big
you
here.
You have to honor the person that goes off and leaves. And you also have to honor the person that mans the home. Both of those roles are incredibly important.
Incredibly
On
important.
both sides. So when I think about Maria, even though I get up at 4:45 every morning to go work out, and she sleep, and she may not get up until 9 or whatever, I don't penalize her because I'm a morning person. Because there have been many nights I've actually been on my way to work. It's easy to be up before 9. I've been up on my way to work, and Maria is working on a wig or working on back when she had the shoe company or trying to place the order for Royal Prerogative in China. So you have to respect that people work in different styles. And that gets into a little bit, there's a question about time. What are some of the helpful pointers on organization and time management and also keeping motivated? Do you want me to start or you want to start?
Our iPhone calendars. Mm-hmm. We have Outlook on our phone, so we share our calendars.
Right, you can create a shared family calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So we post
Garrison's
events.
stuff is on there. Stuff when he's traveling is on there. Mm-hmm. My travel's on there. Dates.
Doctor's appointments.
All of that stuff is all kind of laid out for us, and we can go through our week. So tonight we go through our week like he's traveling this week.
Here's a couple things for me. So regardless of whether you're corporate or not, my week this week actually started. Next week starts this week. So for me, I'm corporate, so that I start planning my next week on Friday that morning. And I usually plan out in 4 weeks. So I usually look out 4 weeks, and then I'm locking in the next 2 weeks, but I'm always looking out a couple weeks in advance. Okay, is that perfect, guys? No, it isn't. But it is on my calendar to plan for the next week. Your next day, I think about, like tomorrow, I am really, really hyped. I'm going out of town. I don't know whether we're going to leave Maria. We've had an awesome Thanksgiving, but I'm hyped about getting up in the morning and going to the gym, and I've already thought through my day. I know my plane leaves at 8:20. I know all the details I need to know about my day. So I'm already thinking positive things about conquering and winning that next day. So from a motivation standpoint, I'm inspiring and I'm motivating myself to conquer that next day. I'm careful with the words that I use. There are days and there have been times in my life when I have literally not wanted to get up and face the next day. And I have a partner now where I can talk through those things, and I have an emotional vocabulary that I haven't always had, that I've been able to gain and say, hey, I'm aware of how I feel. I'm not feeling the greatest. Why is that? And we'll talk about those things. Maria will do the same thing as well.
And I typically don't just ask, how was your day? If I see the weight of the world on him when he walks through that door, I give him some time to kind of deflate and get into the house. But then I'm like, how do you feel? How do you feel? What's going on?
So there's something there. There's a difference between, and this is something I've added.
What you do today? How was your day?
All right, that's a very masculine question. So this is with guys. This goes for ladies and guys.
Oh, that used to burn my skin when I used to be at home.
Unintentional, because guys do it. But watch this, guy. It's very, very powerful. What did you do today is very task oriented. Okay, guys just normally ask each other that, and I've just observed this I don't know if it's true, but this is the pattern I've seen, where women would normally ask, "How was your day?" Okay, so ladies, if you ask your guy, "How was your day?" and their eyes glaze over, it's because there's a lack of ability to translate "How was your day?" into an emotional attachment, a feeling, a sense of, what was my day like? Now, if you ask him, what did you do today? Oh, at 8:00 I had breakfast with so and so. So usually what I do is I flip the script with Maria. So I ask her, how was your day today? And she'll tell me what she did and how she felt about it. Now, for me, when she asked me how was my day, I know that she wants a little bit more than just the rote. At 8 o'clock, I did this. 9 o'clock, I did that. She wants to know, like, how did you feel about it? Are you okay? Are we good? Because for her, that security and sense of validation, she really wants to know, am I stable? Because my stability creates more stability for her, or it creates instability. So you gotta dig a little bit deeper and get beyond the mundane of your lives to really understand that level, deep, intimate level of connection to yourself, and then also to your significant other. Oh, the scheduling of date nights. We can do better on that, to be honest with you guys. We get busy, but we always thinking about ways to spend time with each other. And sometimes it's
As simple as letting Garrison have his iPad
yeah.
and letting him be in his room on his iPad, and we're in our rooms by 6:30 watching what we want to watch on TV, and binging out on carbs, and
This is the thing. This is the
our
thing.
date
There's
night.
nothing magical about date night.
It isn't.
Other than intent. And I think intent goes both ways. It for both. Like, as a man, I want intentional time to myself. I don't want nobody else. I don't want phones. I just want it to be us. And as a woman, she wants the same. She wants to know that she matters enough for me to carve out some time for her. That's really what the magic of date night is. And I just think it's kind of wrapped up into this notion of dating, courtship, go out.
But we
can
do
make it
have
cheap,
to
expensive,
schedule.
whatever.
We do have to schedule those because we don't have family here. So we have to make sure that we have a sitter in place. So those things have to be on our calendar, so that we can have the right people in place to make sure that our date night can be successful if we decide to go out and do something in the city. Like I said earlier, we're both really involved in our city where we are now, and it takes a
Did you
trial.
take makeup classes, or are you self-taught?
I'm self-taught on makeup. Now, we did learn makeup at the cosmetology school I went to. I went to Regency Beauty Institute, which is now closed down. But they did teach us makeup, and we did have to have so many points to be able to clock out to graduate. We had to have so many points in nails, makeup, facials, just certain things we had to have. We had to have so many of them. Like, you had to have people come in and be like, I want to get my makeup done. And we had a makeup bar, and we had to do makeup. As far as makeup, I would say start with your own face, and then start with, like, your grandmother. Go polar opposite of your skin and your skin type and age, because between that, you'll be able to figure out some tricks and tips of the trade. And also utilize YouTube. Everything people say isn't horrible, and everything they say isn't golden.
I'm gonna hit y'all with some game on something. I was just thinking about this, and this is something a little. It's maybe not new in my journey, but it's awareness. Okay, so to me, I have 3 phases that I go through, and you can apply this in a lot of different areas. You can apply this in advocacy. You can apply this in a lot of different spaces. But first is awareness. Like, you must be aware. Be aware of both how you think and how you feel. Okay. And getting into that second part is like, I am aware, all right? And that second part, I actually said it, is what do I feel about that? Okay, I'm aware as I think, like cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Like, I'm observing the world, wow, I see Maria has this turban on. I think that looks cool. Why? How does it make me feel? Okay, I'm using a cheeky example. How does it make me feel? And then the third thing is like, what am I going to do? So let me give you another example. So with my wife and in our relationship, okay, I may say something like, wow, I think what I said made Maria feel bad. Okay, how do I feel about that? Okay, and then third, what am I going to do about it? So what that does is that gives me a sense of observation, of feeling, and of awareness. And in this period, what I've seen is there are things about Maria that are they're naturally and intrinsically feminine, and they're different than the masculine essence that I have. I believe really, really big in the energies, and there's masculine energy that comes from men. There's feminine energy that comes from men. There's masculine energy that comes from women. There's feminine energy that comes from women. And it's easy to get frustrated when you are in the spirit of receiving masculine energy and you get feminine energy. There have been times when I walk into the house and I may be in a zone or whatnot, Maria hits me with something, or vice versa. It may be the opposite way around. But when you're conscious and you say like, okay, from an intent standpoint, I don't intend to do her wrong. She doesn't intend to do me wrong. Like, what's going on? That's a really, really big thing for, and that's a conscious choice, guys. It's a conscious choice to see beyond just the surface level, to really think about what are those things that are driving and dictating my own behavior, what are driving and dictating my kids' behavior, my wife or my husband's behavior. So yeah, getting philosophical, a little heavy.
Any other questions?
Let's see if I missed anything. I don't think I did.
No more? And it doesn't have to be like relationship. It can be about I'm single.
Daddy,
What's up, man?
I want to watch another movie.
Oh, we did miss one. How do you balance your friendships? Go watch one.
I don't. It's. I was.
All right, you can handle that. How do you balance friendships? I'll be back.
Okay. So, of course, when we came into our relationships, we had friends. I don't have any male friends. And this one was a hard one for me because I had male friends prior, but really none of them were that close to me where it meant that I had to keep them once I had a husband. So for me, I don't have male friends. I have female friends, and they are like my sisters because I'm an only child. So they are like my sisters. How we balance that, because I work during the day, I'm able to talk during the day, so it doesn't interrupt our evenings. It's very, very rare that my phone is on or I'm talking to someone while my husband's home, because I can do that during the day. Let's see. I'm not sure, like, as far as like girls trips and girls night out, I still do those things even though I'm married. It's no different than scheduling a date night, making sure that he's available to be home with Garrison, or if he has other plans that we have someone in place to be home with Garrison. We don't really stop each other from doing those things unless, I was doing them every night and not giving attention or doing what I need to do at home. Did you do... I'll be in New York next week. But it's only for one day. I'm coming in and then I'm coming out. How do I handle people who copy your work or your style? I don't believe in copying. We're all influenced somehow. I can see something how you do it and I will not do it the same way you do it. But I got inspired by you and I copied you. I just might do it a different way. It could be better or it could be worse. I think that once we let go of that mentality and that way of thinking, I think that that's when we're allowed to open up space. Me getting into this space of YouTube, being a professional hairstylist and showing and sharing the stuff that I paid hard-earned money for to learn and give it away for free and knowledge and stuff like that, I firmly believe that my blessings have been because I've been so unabashed about giving that stuff away. This is not... Me sharing this stuff is not about me. It's about me sharing so someone else can gain the knowledge. And because I'm willing to empty, I always give people this analogy. I'm a glass. And when I'm born, I'm filled with the maximum amount that I can before I pour it over, right? Now, if I can go through life and just put my hand on top, I won't lose anything. I'm going to keep everything I got and I'm going to be good, right? Well, no, because it's still water. Now, if I pour that out, I'm able to retain and get new stuff that's coming down. I say God, you say whatever. I'm not trying to push my religious beliefs on you, but we are not allowed to get blessings if we hold on to what we were given. You have to pour it out so blessings can be poured back into you, okay? I'm a firm believer in that, and it has shown me over and over again, the more I'm willing to share, the more I'm willing to give, the more that I have been blessed in return. So copying me, please do. That means that my influence is strong and you trust what I'm saying, and I take that to heart, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that the information that I share with you, that I put out here to you, everything that I'm doing is 100% authentic to me. I'm not here to get likes. I'm not here to get popular on YouTube. I don't even make any money off of YouTube. Okay? So me doing this is me taking the time to do it because I truly, genuinely love the relationships that I have with you guys. You guys have been nothing but supportive of me, and that just goes a long way for me. That melts my heart, and it just makes me feel really good.
While you're on that, do you have any advice about getting into the cosmetology industry? She's in her late 30s. This is mom of 3, and she feels like she's too old to start, but it's a lifelong dream.
You're never too old to do anything. And I feel if you have a true passion about it, you're going to have to get your mentality wrapped around what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you want to get into cosmetology, and I think you asked about makeup. She's the one who asked about the makeup. I would say if you can, get a job at Sephora. If you can, ask makeup artists that are coming into town if you can be an assistant. If you know people who do wedding makeup, can I come and you don't have to pay me, I just want to wash your brushes for you and help you prep. Because in doing that, you'll learn why they use certain brushes. You'll learn the tools and the products that they're using because you'll see it. It's being able to put yourself in a position where you can see the content. Most people are able to absorb and put things together just from merely seeing it. So,
What?
I need the lights turned off.
you need the lights turned off.
You need me to
Come
help
here.
you with it?
He has a stool. Be careful. No, we haven't been in high school. We haven't been in a relationship since high school. We didn't date until college briefly. We broke up. He got married. I got married. We both went through divorces and we reconnected.
Yeah, and there was a question about did we ever threaten to leave each other early in our relationship, or
No,
we had our
he
arguments.
just dumped me.
That
He
was-
dumped me in
that was
college.
years ago.
But since we've been married, no.
You have
Okay, go turn off the
that's
lights.
an independent decision. You have to determine.
Go turn off the lights.
I need another singer blanket.
Okay.
Okay.
I got him.
You have to determine in your
Come on.
language, and this is a real personal decision. Let me take a step back. Most of you know situations that you're going to get into. So let's say you were driving into work and you knew that you had a performance review or you had a meeting with your boss. If you're wise, you're going to scenario plan of like what's going to happen. Okay? But if you're super wise, you're going to think about what am I going to do if this, or this happens. So a lot of times what I do is I think about in the future. I don't even talk to Maria about this. If we get into a fight, all right, this is real talk. If we get into a fight and I feel like I'm going to lose control, what am I going to do? Okay, being physical. No, it's not just water. Being physical with Maria, like in terms of hitting, punching, that is out of the question. Threatening, using
But I
divorce,
walk in,
I'm just talking about the question of did you guys threaten to leave each other? You need to think about what am I going to do when like it hits the fan, you know? What am I going to do when we get into a heated discussion? We had a heated discussion. There's one time, and I broke my watch. I got out of control, and I remember I didn't hit Maria or anything. I just slammed my watch on the ground. I didn't like that feeling, or on the table. And what we've agreed to is
And it wasn't his. It was on his wrist and he
no,
slammed.
it was in my hand.
Oh,
No, I took it out of my hand because I'd gotten nerve, and I flattened it, and it was a skating watch. I smashed it. Everybody's different, okay? And in our relationship, our deal is this: is if it gets heated to where we're at a point of extreme frustration. There have been times Maria has walked away, and there have been times that I've walked away. And we've gotten better about this. These times are very, very rare.
In the very beginning of our marriage, like.
But you need to leave yourself a way out. But you also need to plan for a way back in. Okay, so I have a commitment. I don't leave the house. I don't go off on a drive. I may go into the other room, collect myself, and then we can resume where we kind of left off. So.
Another thing that we have implemented in our marriage that really helped in the beginning, we don't say it as much now, but I love you, you're in a safe place. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but it is so reassuring.
I got that from my mom.
Yes, it is so reassuring. So I love you, you are in a safe place, which means that you are allowed to make mistakes. You have grace here. And I love you through all of this. Don't trip too much, but
now, so that's like entry level. Here's an advance, and this is where I think we're getting into right now, is you need to understand not only what your spouse's love language is, but what your spouse's fears are. So for me, whether it's rational or not, for whatever reason, I have a fear of rejection. And it manifests itself in being a people pleaser and some other aspects in my life. And you can choose as a spouse for those fears. That
I can feed them, I can eliminate
it can
them.
annoy you, or you can look at it. Like I know Maria has a fear of it's security for her is a really, really big deal. So that I love you, you're in a safe place. That's really, really important because that gets into the root of family stability, structure, safe place. And there are things in my language that I've had to change. When I know I'm in the wrong, or when we're in the middle of a conversation and I figure out I'm in the wrong, I try to consciously, I'll shift the way that I'm sitting, and I will sit below her, so I'm looking up to her. I'm a big guy. I'm like 6 inches taller than Maria and about 100 pounds heavier than Maria, 130 pounds heavier than Maria, almost. So if I'm towering over her and she's looking at me like this, that doesn't work. So for me, I feed into her sense of stability. Sometimes I'll go to the extent of, like, you guys see me, I'm always talking with my hand. I'll literally sit on my hands to prevent myself, and I'll open my chest up. I'll sit back on the ground, chest open. Why am I doing that? Because it increases the blood flow, and I'm signaling to my physical body that I'm not in threat, I'm not in danger, but I need to go ahead and take this tail whoop and take this tongue lashing, because it's going to be okay. So these are just things that, guys, I've had to learn over the course of time and get better with, that I just want to share with you all that may help you.
Someone asked, how do you find your love languages? Some good resources to helping you identify and find your love languages are Gary Smalley's 5 love languages. That's really important. I don't really think it probably touches on this in the book. It's been so long. But basically, it allows you to know how to categorize your love languages. And your love language might not be necessarily in those categories, but it allows you to be able to start to identify what really brings you peace, what makes you happy, etc.
Another book for you guys, Emerson Eggerichs. Emerson Eggerichs has a book called The Love She Desires and the Respect He Needs. Something like that. It's the Love and Respect book. If you just Google the Love and Respect book, you'll find that.
That's
and essentially
really
what it talks about.
Women want love,
and
men want respect.
And when you don't get it, you get into a crazy cycle. You don't feel love, so you don't respect. You don't feel love, so you don't respect. And you just go. And eventually, like, somebody has to break the crazy cycle.
You have to be mature enough to be like, I'm done.
Okay.
Not the relationship. Not
like
with the relationship, but I'm done
okay,
doing this over and over and over. Yeah.
Somebody has to take, both of you, if you're in a relationship, should learn how to de-escalate, but you have to realize there's going to be times where you're going to be triggered and you're not going to be able to de-escalate. And sometimes you're going to be the one that de-escalates, and sometimes you're going to be the one that needs that.
I really want to say your name, so if I butcher it, I am sorry, but I think I know how to say it. Nagaglua? I hope I said that right. You asked if I was a Cancer, and I'm not. I'm a Sagittarius. My birthday was the day before Thanksgiving. And you also asked...
It's Nalula.
Nalula. So the guy is silent?
Nalula.
Nalula.
I think so.
Did we get it right? What do you feel about dating for years before you get... Nalula.
Yeah,
He was right. Before you get married as a man or as a woman. And here are my answers from my side. And we have 2 different perspectives on this because we lived 2 different lives when it came to dating prior to marriage. I feel it's important to date. Now, if you're in a committed relationship for years, I feel like that could be beneficial, especially if you're young and you're growing together and you guys are mature enough to know we're young right now. Let's give ourselves some space and growth to see if this is something that will stay when we get older. To be dating someone in a committed relationship just to hold on to them because you're not sure what else you might find out in the world, you have to be honest with yourself on this. Men will do you like this. Women do this to men. Men do this to women. We are possessive. We are possessive creatures. And we will hold something in our pockets, not necessarily with the intention of keeping them in our pockets, but making sure that we are not without something in our pockets until we find what we want to put the ring on. So make sure you're not being put in that position and you're not putting someone in that position. I think that being able to say, I don't need that crutch. First is identifying, I'm dating this person for so long because I need the crutch. Okay, that's the first part. Second is being able to say, why do I need the crutch? This is a painful one because you have to really evaluate and look at yourself. Why am I leaning on this person? I know I don't want to be with them. They get on my nerves, but they cool sometimes, you know, and they know me, but they don't because you don't even know yourself because you have them as a crutch and you don't know why. So being able to detach from that and be able to say, pause. Silence is such an amazing gift. And being able to pause and being comfortable with saying, this is not healthy because I'm doing it for the wrong reasons.
So I'm gonna hit you guys with this. So Maria talks about the differences in dating experience. Maria has a lot more dating experience than I did. I grew up in a family in a house where it was like you date to get married, and Mom, if you're still on, you didn't do something the wrong way. That's a lot of pressure, date to get married. So I do believe in dating, but follow me on this analogy. And this goes for both men and women. But this is especially for the ladies, because the ramifications of being with the wrong man are a little bit more profound for you guys than I think for men. Marriage is more profound ramifications, though, for men, for right now. But that's plenty true. There are guys in your life that are going to either be squatters, they're going to be renters, or they're going to be owners, and they're going to be builders. You want a builder. You want somebody that's going to build with you for the long term. But there's going to be times in your life where you may be with someone where you own a home together, own that relationship together, for whatever reason. You may be with somebody where you're renting. Stay away from the squatter. Stay away from the guys or the girls or the ladies that are in your life.
Or identify it in yourself.
Identify it in yourself. Like Maria said, are you in this relationship because you want a cuddy buddy? Are you in this relationship because you need to feed yourself? Okay, like real talk. Like there are some situations where people are in relationships because like they can't afford to get a house on their own, or they can't afford rent, or they've got a kid and they need shelter. And those are situations where I really feel bad in those instances. But don't tie yourself up in those situations. That goes both ways. But if you can find somebody, when when we got back together, I knew she was the one. And this is another thing. When a man knows, I don't know, I can't speak for women, but I know when a man knows, a man knows. I knew when I got back with Maria because I knew years ago that she was the one. And when a man knows, he will behave as though he knows. And there's a way that you can test a man. If you're giving the cookies and you're not getting something back in return, pull the cookies away. Take that off the table. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Take that off the table. Okay, your grandmama would tell you, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? That is true. Like, why? Why would you do that? Okay? If you're getting meals and dinner and intimacy and you're really not having to work and put anything into the relationship, why change? Why would you put a ring on it and make it official? But a man who sees a challenge, sees a woman that's worth building with, man, there was nothing that I wasn't willing to do unless it was illegal to get myself in position to be with Maria. I didn't even give her a choice, man. I was like, whatever. I'm going for it. I have nothing to lose.
He shot his shot.
I shot my shot. Vince Carter dunked I was in the rim.
So, back on, I had something I wanted to say. And it was about relationships. A single parent, and I've already started Hub. You came into a relationship with children. How is it dating and marrying someone with children? You speak from your experience, and then I'll come in as the person. I'm going to let him speak from his experience of coming into the relationship with children, and then this is my second marriage where the man had children.
All right, so I'm going to speak from a male standpoint about coming into a relationship, being the one that has kids, because the thing that we have in common is that I had kids and you have a child. There is a little bit of a different dynamic in terms of like, because I'm a man, you're a woman, and I'll let Maria speak into that. You deserve to have a life. You should have a life. A lot of what I see with a lot of women, whether they're single moms or whether they're married or not, is they live for their children. Like their every dying breath is like, I live for my kids. My kids come first. I get that, and there's a beauty in nature, why I believe God graced you all with the ability to have kids and whatnot, but you have to be careful in your orientation, making sure that you don't solely live for your kids, because they got the rest of their lives to live for themselves. So from the standpoint of going into a relationship, you've got to ask yourself, like Maria was talking about, are you mentally healthy? Like, are you going into this relationship as stable as you can be? Okay, because for some men, they may find where you may use your child as an inlet, to get into your bedroom or into your life just in general. I knew for me that I wanted to be married. I knew when I got divorced that I wanted to be married. So I wasn't going to let too much grass burn under my feet. And I wasn't going to just take anybody. But I wanted to be married. I wanted to be in a relationship. And Maria and I were careful about how we introduced my kids to her, what they call each other. You have to give yourself room to know that this is just going to be awkward. It's going to be weird. Your little man is going to have an opinion. He's going to like somebody. He's not going to like so and so. But I do think there are some best practices. You need to establish like what is the point that you want to introduce this individual into your child's life. And I'm a little old school on this.
You can't force introducing your kids and hoping that it'll force the man's hand either. And that's speaking from a woman's perspective, because I can see how that can happen. So being able to establish that you know that the relationship is moving in that direction, and it's not just something that's a hyperbole, like you just pulled out of the sky, like he really likes me and we have a great time and I think this is it. No, you guys have had a mature conversation and you are going to be in a serious relationship. You don't have to necessarily be moving towards marriage. Marriage might be may not even be an option any longer. But being able to know that you're going to be able to display stability to your child. Things happen. And there's lessons in that as well. But as far as me being on the receiving side of accepting men with children, these relationships were night and day. My first relationship, I knew the male before he had a child, but we never dated until years later. Like, we were just friends. That was not a good relationship. He had a lot of issues that he did not have resolved on the baby mother's side, and it was just a lot of drama. In this situation, him knowing that was part of the reason why the marriage was not successful, he made sure that he did everything in his will to allow me to know that my situation's straight, we gonna be good, you ain't gotta deal with no drama, and that allowed me to have a place of safety and security. Another thing is, I've known him my whole life. Like, I literally grew up with him. So, just knowing the type of person he was, and I knew that he just didn't play a lot of games. Like, he just wasn't that guy. He wasn't a playboy. He wasn't just out to play games. I think you have to take into consideration morality of a person. Like, what are you dealing with?
And if anything I brought to the table, it was a lack of experience. So there were things that Maria may have expected from me to know or whatnot, and I've never experienced it. A lot of first experiences I've had with Maria.
And then like when the children would be with us and he would go to work and I would have his children, that's very scary, because they're not my children. We're married, I'm his wife, but it doesn't mean that the children love me and I'm their mother.
But I'm gonna tell you this though, and this may be easier because I'm a man, but there's a tipping point to where the kids need to know that, like, this is me and Miss Maria are getting married. She's gonna be my wife, and at that point, the hierarchy changes, and it's gonna make a lot of people a little bit weird because some folks are probably in the room and they're like, it's the kids first, and then I'm not gonna have that argument, that debate. You can choose to believe what you believe. In my house, my wife comes before my kids, okay?
And my husband comes before my kids.
However, there's a weird point to where she wasn't my wife, but we were dating, and I've got my kids, and we just had to talk through, like, hey, I need to be there for them on this right here. But over the course of time, that hierarchy changed.
Thanks,
I expressed that to them so that they understood and they knew that my love for them didn't change. But I have a wife, and that's hard because in their minds they were always looking at, why don't you get back with my mom? Why are you not in Little Rock?
Yeah.
But because we got out in front of that, I have a great relationship. I give a lot of credit to Maria for helping me restore a friendship.
And his kids will never know that they're not first.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Now see, some women will come in and take that and run with it.
Yeah.
I'm a product of a single parent home. I would have loved for anything to have both parents, okay? Or even a step parent that was there and was the bomb. So I don't play that, well, it's what I want to do. No, I have him to myself majority of the year. When his children come, it's about those children and the lack of time that they have not had with their father and the time that they now have with their father. And how do we utilize that?
We both go hard for the kids, but Maria goes hard. She goes hard.
it's a responsibility. When you come into a relationship where there's already children involved, and I don't know if it's because I came from a single parent home and I have empathy for that. I really believe I'm an empath too.
That's the greatest challenge of being as a parent. Getting your kid to eat a balanced diet. That's what it was this morning at about 10:30.
But he ate it.
He did.
He ate it.
I have an answer to this, but
The most challenging thing about being a parent is I have a career and I have a child. And sometimes I have to make the hard decisions to do my career over my child. And I try to make that decision very, very sparingly. Like, I try not to choose my career over my child whatsoever, but it happens, and those are challenging moments. Luckily, I have a spouse here who can pick up the pieces when I have to go do something. But besides that, I don't think it's challenging. I know that sounds cliche, but all of it is work, and I take it very serious. I take being a parent very serious. I am raising the next generation that's going to be out in this world, and I'm not playing with that. I do not take that responsibility lightly whatsoever.
Dion, you're too kind. You're too kind. I appreciate that. Here's what I'd say to build on what Maria said. I believe this is and
we don't know anything about politics.
We're not wealthy per se, but I'll call it the paradox of an affluent parent. How do you keep a full person hungry? That's what I worry about as a parent. My kids will graduate from our house with more assets than I saw when I was a kid. They will be exposed. Garrison has been to Paris. He's been he's traveled internationally. Okay, so he is going to have experiences that I'm having as a grown man. He's having them as a 4-year-old. Okay, as a 3-year-old. So Maria and I talk about is like, how do we have a lot of grit. It has taken a lot of grit to get to where we're at. And our grit has produced all of this stuff that's just normal for him. And you see it time and time again. You're like, wow, how did that kid who came out of this fantastic household not have a desire to run the family business or do well in school or whatever? So we figure out ways to make sure that he has chores, he has allowance.
My no muscle is very strong. I flex it at all times.
You got like 20-inch no muscle biceps.
No muscles. No.
He works on set with his mom already.
He works. He understands he has a job. He understands responsibility. He understands the actions and the consequences to his actions. If he asks me for something, I don't just say yes or no sometimes. Sometimes I actually lay out the scenario. If you do this, you can't do this. The decision is now yours. And whatever decision you say, that's what you have to stick with. So not only is he learning principle, he's learning to have honor and to understand that his word is his word. He is learning promises that are not meant to be broken. He is understanding at 4.
I'm going to tell you all this.
Constantly. I'm constantly thinking and constantly challenging his brilliant mind. My son is brilliant. And it's not that he's just smart and he knows a lot of stuff. His ability to think is amazing. And I challenge him on that at every cost.
That's the key, y'all. Another way to say that is one of the keys to our success, and I just believe it's success in life in general, is having a positive orientation around suffering. Okay, what does that mean?
He doesn't have the struggle that we had.
We didn't
have the struggle that our parents had.
But you can still challenge your child with sports. Make sure they do chores. Make sure they have some form of ownership in their life. Affliction. Mm-hmm. I get up and go to the gym. I punish myself every morning. I look forward to getting up and going to the gym. I fast. I do intermittent fasting. I take cold showers. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons this is a pro tip. I take a cold shower. Anytime I shower, I end with 3 minutes of cold water, as cold as it can get. The reason that I do that is because I know that I have the ability to face that challenge. Okay, hold on. I know that I have the ability to face that challenge, which is just cold water. I can master my physical body, that aspect of suffering, in a way that produces results. And when I go into that meeting and I'm not trying to hear that feedback, or when I have a challenge or an issue, subconsciously in my physical body, I know that I can handle it. I can do it. So I got as much hot water as I need. I don't need to take cold showers. Okay, but I'm doing that by choice. I skip breakfast. I eat my first meal at lunch by choice. I fast by choice. These are disciplines, aspects that He's not doing that right now, but eventually we'll get him into exposing him into some of those things. All right.
You put him up. Put him to bed.
I'm gonna let him watch one more, and then I'll put him up.
We're probably gonna close up here because it's way past his bedtime, and he actually does have school tomorrow. G, you're in preschool now, big boy. So, I think someone else. Keeping child grounded is an issue for me and my husband. Groundedness is an issue. We are in a society where things come quick. Everybody gets an award or a trophy. I am a firm believer in you have to work for it. Just because your dad got one doesn't mean you get one. Did you get up and then go to the gym every day and work out to be strong to win a trophy? No. So whatever, I tell him he can win the crybaby trophy. I'm that mom. I kind of go for a couple of guttural jabs. Oh, thank you. Exactly. You're not special just because you're alive. You have to work. He's 4. I give him a little leeway. Catch him at 10. No, I give him grace, but he's challenged, and I make sure that I really work with him as well as myself. Somebody said something that was, what did I do? Somebody said something that was really good.
This is the last show, and then we'll be taking it.
What are some of your personal weaknesses and flaws and that you deal with today? How do you stay motivated in those areas? I have insecurities. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm good enough. Sometimes I feel very alone in my growth, in my climbing in society. I just feel like I'm very alone. It could be because I'm an only child. It could be a lot of reasons why I feel this way. I don't feel like I always get a lot of support. And these are my own personal battles. I am being very vulnerable and open with you guys right now. But these are things that I deal with, not necessarily on the daily anymore. But when they were at their highest, I would eliminate things that made me feel less than. I stopped following certain accounts. I really focused on myself. I really made sure that I got back to my grounding, like my center, and understood what it was and my purpose was. Because a lot of times, somebody mentioned something about social media. Social media can definitely be a deterrent. I think people think because my business is through social media that I'm on it all the time, and I'm not. It's not a safe place. It's not a comforting place, and it's definitely not a good place to spend a majority of your time. Yes, I have my moments when I'm on there, but you'll see on my Instagram, I won't post for a week. I'll come on Instagram stories, but I don't have to watch anybody else. I don't have to scroll through. It's not healthy, and it's not good to do that all the time. And people will be like, what do you have to be comparing about? Of course, you're always following somebody who's just as driven or is doing wonderful things in their lives. And those things can be motivational, but they can also be hindrance when things aren't just going that great for you at that moment. So I try to keep a good balance of staying present in my own world. By the time I share stuff with you guys on social media, I probably have known about it for quite some months, and I've already had my celebratory moments with those that are closest to me. I share, but I'm naturally an introvert. Does not mean I'm shy. It just means that I gain my energy from self and from my own personal space. So being around people and being exposed to a lot of different energies are very draining of me as a person. And I'm aware of these things. So knowing my shortcomings, knowing that I'm easily deterred, or knowing that things can kind of get to me, I'm able to counter that. So being aware of your triggers, I would say, is the best thing that can help you in any of this. My bookshelves are Crosby, Crosby, Crosby. You can Google them and they should come up. You can Google Bronze Bookshelves by Crosby.
So I've got a couple for you. Is it Crystal about flaws or whatever? It's a couple. This goes back to awareness. All right. One of the questions that I ask myself, I remember I asked my wife this, and it really wasn't meant for her to answer. It's really more of an introspective question. Am I the man that you want me to be? And it's really not for her. It wasn't for her to answer, but it sent me on this journey of, am I the man that I want my daughter to aspire to marry and my sons to be? And at that point, I was a good guy. There's a lot of good things about me, a lot of great redeeming characteristics. There were some things that I really needed to work on, and that was literally like shining a mirror in my own face. So here's some of the things that I've been working on here recently. I talked about being a nice guy. I've just now reread the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, and the title is a little bit catchy. And it's not about not being nice; it's about being balanced. I'm figuring out and learning more about me to be attracted to my wife. That's something that's important to me. To be inspirational to my sons and to my daughter. To be a great worker. To be a great son. There's some things that I've noticed about my speech patterns. Something very, very minor. When I look people, I don't look in their eyes. I look in their mouths. And this is literally something that's totally just recent. I've been spending more time looking into like my wife's eyes specifically to connect with her. And I think some of that comes out of a fear of rejection. It's hard to be rejected by someone's kind of their internal soul when you're not looking into that individual's eyes. That's something very, very small for me. But at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do really is live up to my genetic potential to be the best me that I can be. I would encourage you, go to YouTube. When I work out in the morning, I listen to these, I just Google motivational videos. I love superheroes. There are times when you may catch me in the gym and I'm literally crying. And I'm crying as I'm working out because something has moved me so emotionally and so deep. Either it's a memory about perseverance when I was in the hospital for a week with a mental breakdown, but I rebounded, I overcame that, or it was a high joy, seeing the birth of my children, remembering when Maria walked down the aisle. So my internal engine is driven by this overcoming sensation that I have, and you sometimes have to be reminded of that. Go ahead, baby.
Someone mentioned that they get through by not caring what people think. I'm going to challenge you to take that a step further. And even though you don't care what people think, I want you to understand why you would care. Because that's where the true answer is to making yourself truly whole and understanding what's going on. It's easy for us to say, I don't care, but you're really swallowing those feelings. They're not just rolling off your shoulders. Until you strengthen yourself, you're not going to be able to not care. Not caring would be turning off your phone, turning off social media, and being able to totally detach. Then you don't care. But being able to hear it and have it constantly in your face and it not faze you is where we truly aim to be. So I would challenge you to figure out why you do care. Is it because you feel they're telling the truth? Or do you feel that they're seeing who you really are? But see, you're not that, and you don't have to stay there. You have the right to change and be whoever you want to be. And that is where you're going to find your true strength. Oswald, this next one is for you. Your past is not where your future is. Whatever mistakes you made in your past, you have to relinquish yourself. My husband just told you he was in the hospital for a week from a nervous breakdown. He could have stayed that. He could have allowed that medicine to stay in his system. He could have let society tell him he wasn't all right in the head. Perfectly healthy, perfectly fine. You have to find the strength within yourself. You have to be in a position to know I'm not quite where I want to be, but it doesn't mean I can't get where I need to be. We are in the land of the free. And if an immigrant can come over here and make it, sweetheart, so can you. You might have a felony on your record and you might not be able to go get a job, but you can start somewhere. If you work at McDonald's and you're staying with your parents, that money needs to be stacking. That means you can put it towards starting your own business. It's too much stuff out here for you to be doing. It's just too much. You can be a motivational speaker. You could be doing all kinds of stuff to help other people not lead into that. Give back to your community. Talk to the kids. It's a reason why you went down that path. You have a knowledge that other people do not have. I can't relate until you tell me, and then I can understand. So don't ever allow your past to dictate your future. You want to be married? Put yourself out there and focus on giving back. God is crafting your wife. She's already crafted. She's waiting for you.
Man to man, fam, I want to affirm you for your honesty, because I choose to believe there's a lot more Oswalds out there that need a path for reentry back in. But like Maria said, your altitude may not be where you want it to be because of your past, but you are not who you were. But the question is, will you be who you want to be? And that's where your trajectory comes in. Your altitude may be here, but keep that future trajectory. Your eye is out here, man, and eventually you'll be up here, okay? And I'm not sure where that point is or where you've got enough stuff and you've demonstrated enough to kind of warrant someone's interest and to be married. But what I can do is say leadership starts with the self. Are you physically, whatever, do you have anything in your system that doesn't need to be there? How do you look? Do you have a plan to get out of your mom and dad's basement? Dog, I have been there. I've slept on my brother's couch for almost a year trying to put myself back together. Got back in school, after I got out of the hospital, could barely read. I know our situations are a little bit different, but I was just a shadow of the man that I was. I was just trying to hold on to that previous relationship. So all that to say to you, my friend, is you may not be where you want to be, but your honesty and being aware is the first step. You know how it makes you feel. Get that feeling, man, of like that taste, that future orientation. Think about what it's going to look like when you're walking into the house and you got somebody that's there for you, that's ride or die with you, and y'all are building a life together. And then make a plan to see it into fruition. But it starts with you first, man.
Somebody wrote in this exact video, chase your passion, not the money. If you're able to find what gets you up every day and you are able to expound on that, the money will come. If it's just sitting out a daily motivational video on Instagram for people who might be in your situation or who are about to go down that line, everybody needs to hear something, okay? You don't have to be preachy. You don't have to be anything else. You just have to be you. I have a ton of knowledge. I have a ton of stuff that I can share with people. But I'm not on my Instagram talking about you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm here to bring a little bit of break from this society. I'm here to give you a little bit of niceness and be sweet to you because I know life is tough. Okay? Life is tough.
I'm going to answer the music question, or you have a question?
I got that.
If we could go to a concert, it's a new artist. She's new to me. Her name is Her. She's fantastic.
She is awesome.
She is incredible. H-E-R. Ro James is another one. Kind of like
we like soulful music, but kind of on a new alternative wave, not soulful like.
I love the internet, y'all.
Oh, I love the internet. Nope, not true for me. I really don't care what people think about me. I don't care how they think I treat them. I get it. And it's it's a lot of people that really are in that good place. So I'm glad you were able to get there and you understand. Somebody asked me, Maria, you said that you often feel alone, and I imagine that has to do with how you continue to grow as a person. How do you manage that, especially with family and close friends? It gets very challenging because I'm constantly evolving, and I have to be the responsible one enough to say I'm not there anymore. It's not up to my close friends to know that I'm not the same Maria I was a year ago. That's not up to them. That's up to me, and that's my maturity to be able to say, hey, we need to do this, or this is where we are, or this is where I am. Because in that growth, I probably am the reason why I might feel alone, because I don't feel they understand. And if I don't give people a fair chance to understand, then I'm really the hindrance, not them. So I've learned that being able to be open and honest. I also have a very small circle so that energy isn't overextended, okay? I have an amazing helpmate here. He allows me to bounce any and everything off of him, and I know he probably gets tired of me. Another thing that I did for myself in my early 20s is I did 10 years of counseling. It's a lot going on in here. It's a lot more to me than just what you guys see. I did 10 years of counseling, and I was never diagnosed with any issues. I never was on medication or anything like that, and if I had to be, I would have taken it. But it was more or less for me to understand why I was continuing to live a very reckless life, a very non-goal oriented. Like I was just reckless with my life, and it was many reasons behind that, and counseling allowed me to learn myself so that I can make better decisions moving forward. I can't erase what happened to me. All I can do is understand what triggers me so I don't go down the wrong paths anymore. And that's why I say it's very important to learn self. When you have a feeling, don't dismiss the feeling. Understand where that feeling comes from and where it lies, because that is going to be your determining factor on how you're going to be able to do better in life. It doesn't mean you're better than the people around you. You're just able to do better because you know, I'm not even getting ready to mess with that. That's not for me. But this over here, I'm getting ready to mess with. It's just being able to know. Like, we can't expect people to know us. Nobody is a mind reader. I tell my husband this all the time. He is not a mind reader. I cannot just look at him and be like, why didn't you know that? That's on me. If it bothered me, I need to be mature enough to say, hey, babe, that bothered me. And be able to explain why it bothered me and not feel like I need to cuss him out or be rude about it. That's just me being able to say, that didn't sit well with me. You guys are great. When you got married, did you lose any friends along the way? Or yes, I lost a lot of friends. And then they slowly came back into my life.
Here's what happened. I came in like a wrecking ball, y'all. Like, literally, me and Maria started talking in like February or January, dating in February, engaged in May, married in August, and we were gone into a new city
The next spring.
that next April. Okay, so when I said I knew what I needed to do and whatnot. So I think part of that was me and not having history with them, and part of that was in some of the approaches that I had with Maria's friends as well. But like Maria said, she kind of reconciled, and I tried to do my part to I got the prize, you know what I'm saying? But in the same token, like, our home is a safe place, a safe haven for our friends.
Our friends, all of them.
All of them.
So on his side, on my side, things got shaken up a little bit. It even happens in family, you know. And it doesn't mean that people don't want the best for you. This is something I had to learn. When people display certain behaviors that make you automatically just want to be like, are they jealous? No, it doesn't necessarily always mean that. There might be a small snippet of jealousy, but it could be envy. It could be the yearning of wanting something that they see someone else with. And jealousy is more of a vindictive, evil, nasty thing. Wanting something for yourself and seeing someone else get it in a time that you didn't get it is hurtful. Like, you know, like we both working to get something and you didn't got it and I still want it and I don't have it. That's hurtful. That doesn't mean that that's a bad person. And sometimes we aren't mature enough to understand that, and it comes out in different actions. So being able to have grace for people and being able to understand that we are all not perfect, and we are all imperfect. I should say not perfect.
There is something special about friendship. I personally believe in a relationship. So if you think about like a cord, that has a lot of different strands in it. You've got, you know, physical intimacy is one. You know, sometimes that's not as strong as one wants it to be. You have financial tethering. We're business owners together. That stuff comes and goes. You have children. There's a lot of different things. You have love. You have trust. And friendship, spirituality is in there. Friendship for Maria and I is a really important one because she was my friend long before I was crushing on her, you know. Saying, like, will you hold my hand in church? But, you know, we, from a friendship there are times when I ask myself, I'm like, am I being good to my friend? Like, not forget, am I a husband?
But there's times when we're talking and I'll have to be like, babe, I need you to hear me as a friend, because I don't need you to look at me as a husband right now. I need you to look at me as a friend.
That was hard.
It was. Because he became my best friend. And yes, over time you grow and you get closer and you become best friends. And I wanted to talk smack about stuff, but he'd be like,
I will say this.
You're my wife. And I'd be like, not right now.
Back when we were going through that, I didn't want to be friend zoned. I didn't want to be married in the friend zone. If you're like, fellas, I think men kind of know what that means. I didn't want to be married in the friend zone. But I've had to grow to understand, like, I know how to pull the levers now in our relationship, but on like a base rate, like, we're friends. Like, on a base, like, average, every day, we giggle like friends and whatever. But what I have seen in Maria is she is a phenomenal friend. I'm garbage as a friend. Like, and it's something I realized. I give so much of myself to so many people. I really don't have a lot left for close. And this is like in the last year and a half, I've like had this epiphany. Where Maria doesn't give a ton to a lot. Now, she gives a lot through the channels of social media. And you guys see aspects of her that are real. But like, for her to use the designation of like friends, like, I know you in person, I see you, I hang out with you, that's like a really big deal. And she's got some homegirls and some friends in the area. And then also back in St. Louis as well, that give her that release and that energy and that ability to kind of go off and do their thing. And I'm now following in her footsteps and building that with some guys and rekindling some relationships with guys as well. And that's important, you know, and that has actually strengthened our friendship bond together.
Wow. Oswald, we were really nice to you.
Sorry about that, y'all.
Um,
Have you guys tried Tubu?
I don't know what that is, so don't say it out loud.
Thanks. I am only now learning grace and forgiveness because I want that. Forgiveness is a good thing. Before you can give forgiveness, you have to forgive yourself. And I don't know, I'm not trying to play psychologist or counselor, but if you can't forgive yourself, you can't. That's like if you, like in an airplane, what do they say? They say, hey, you've got to secure your own oxygen mask before you secure that of another. Same thing with forgiveness and grace. You know, just a little encouragement on that. Is that growth caused over time, friends?
Yeah, he's my best friend. But
yeah, we're very careful, guys, and this is for us. We're very careful with relationships of the opposite sex.
I mentioned that earlier. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have any
heard
male
you,
friends,
and I'm not like Rhea can't talk to male guys, and she'd be like, oh, he's handsome, or I was on set with so and so, but I'm cognizant of it. I work in a corporate environment. I've got guys that I have worked with throughout my career. They won't go to lunch with another woman. They won't. There's certain parameters that they have. They're very, very stringent. I'm not at that level, but I let the record be known that I'm married, happily married, and ain't nothing coming. You know, like what Sade said, nothing can come between us. Ain't nothing can come between us. You may want up in here, but you can't get up in here.
I think we're going to close out on that. We've been on here for quite some time. It's been amazing, guys. Thank you, as always, for joining us. I don't know if we'll be doing small talks every week, but maybe once a month. Talk to the members of the opposite sex about my relationship is and no.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to.
I don't even talk about my relationship with my friends.
Yeah, Maria. Maria is like zilch nothing.
And it's not because it's just because things happen in relationships, and I will forgive and they won't. And we have to realize that as humans, when you have people who are that close to you and they're protective of you, they're not going to forgive as easy as you forgive. That stuff starts to pile up.
You got to
be very careful about who you are using as your counsel.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, Maria speaks truth. I'm like Chloe with this turban on. I could speak the truth.
Well, we thank you guys for joining us. We've the magic of social media and whatnot is really cool to be able to sit and just have a conversation. It's almost like sitting on the front porch and chatting with people as they kind of come by. So, wow, 26 years. That's awesome. That's awesome. Question for next time. I find that married men have tried it with me and I'm not here for it. Did you experience? Ooh.
Yeah. Not really, because I was always in a relationship. I know that sounds crazy, but I've been engaged 5 times, married once before this one. I was always in a relationship, so I guess people would try to hit on me. I don't know. I was always locked up in a relationship.
So I'm going to tackle these 2 questions. I know, Ricky, you asked this of Maria, do you feel like all men cheat? Human sexuality is dynamic, and you have to understand it on the level of like from a biological standpoint, okay? From a male standpoint, if you look in nature, most males in nature impregnate more than one woman. Now, for us as humans in our society and our population, I know there are populations of people, there's a whole space in Black YouTube on polyamory and polygamy and stuff like that. And there's, you can get into the patriarchy aspect of all this. What I can say for this is that all men have the possibility of being cheaters. All women have the possibility of being cheaters. I know for me that I'm committed to controlling the probabilities. There are certain situations you're not going to catch me in the strip club. You're not going to catch me hanging around certain guys that are going on all guys trips and certain activities. I'm very careful who I have in my circle. I'm just very careful in those parameters. Information that I share, things that I do. I work out in a gym, and I'm known as one of the stronger guys in the gym. If I wanted, I could get into trouble 7 days a week if I wanted to, but I don't have that orientation, that mentality. So I'm not surprised that there's married men that do come after women. That happens all the time. And there are married women that come after men. There are single women that come after, homework.
But that goes back to what I was saying about being a girlfriend or a boyfriend in a long-term relationship, because people don't want to be alone. So they keep you in their pocket until they go find out what they really want. That's the problem. And what they did was they got married instead of just because they couldn't find nothing better. So they just went ahead and settled. So
it is uncomfortable. I would imagine.
Yeah, it's
so
very
it would be very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable if a married man came at you. That's probably got to be pretty unsettling. Let that stuff flatter you and let it roll right off. Let it be like, yeah, I know I'm good, but not good with you. And just let it roll straight off. Because it's the unfortunate dynamics of just the society that we live in. People feel like they can take what they want, and they don't honor and they don't respect that. Come after my wife and you disrespectful. You can look. And we talked about this at lunch today. Every once in a while, Maria may have a young man try to shoot his shot, because Maria doesn't look her age. She doesn't look like she just turned 39. And I've had a young guy shot his shot. He was in high school. He thought Maria was in high school, and he shot his shot in front of me, with his dad right there, and we were chuckling and laughing about that. But
they thought he was.
Yeah, they thought I was his dad. That was back when I was looking like Carl Winslow. That's okay though. All right, we done?
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah.
Y'all have a great week. Be encouraged. I want you to go to bed tonight and think about how wonderful of a week you're going to have, and plan in your mind that regardless of what you have that's coming in front of you, I don't know if you have, I look forward to them. I'll be hyped when it comes time for Monday. Figure out some way to be hyped about Monday, and have a great week. Be encouraged.
Thanks, guys.
Best is yet to come. All the other Blackisms about positivity. Peace.
Bye, guys.